my name is Cammie, and today in my kitchen, we're gonna be making butter-rich cookies. Butter-rich cookies are a family favorite. It's a tradition to have butter-rich cookies every Christmas. They're pretty rich, like they say, butter-rich, and so it's something that we didn't eat often growing up, but definitely it was a lovely treat at the holidays. We also made them for baby showers or bridal showers, something like that. They're a delicate, beautiful cookie. So that's what we're gonna be talking about today. That's what I'm gonna be showing you how to make. My butter-rich cookies were featured in the newspaper. This was like 11 years ago. And look at my cute family. Oh, they've all grown up so much. Anyway, we were showing them my butter-rich cookies. So there's a little bit, and then she puts, like she put on the article, after completing an order of 1,000 cookies at the age of 13, nothing intimidates this baker. Lots intimidates me, but that's fine. So anyway, I did make 1,000 cookies. I made them for a wedding. My sister and her friends were playing games and when they were in high school, and I made some butter-rich cookies. So cooking and sharing what I make is kind of my love language. I love, especially baking, but I love to cook, take food into people when they're struggling, when they just need, you know, something happy in their life. So I love to do that. So I was making cookies for my sister and her friends while they were playing games, and one of her friends said, "Oh, these cookies are so good. Will you make them for me when I get married?" And I thought, well, yeah, because, okay, whatever. They were in high school. They were like seniors in high school. Well, sure enough, a couple years later, she got married. She was getting married and asked me to make cookies. So I was 13 years old, and I spent my whole summer making cookies. I would make a double batch, and then I'd freeze them and save them. And I did this for weeks because 1,000 of these cookies takes a hot minute. So anyway, that's what we're gonna be doing today. This recipe calls for room temperature butter. And we sometimes forget to put our butter in or to pull it out so that it's softened at room temperature. So I'm gonna just show you a couple of tricks of things that you can do. You can microwave it, and my microwave actually does a pretty good job. There's actually a softening button that you can push for butter, but it still can mess with the texture of the cookie. So I still like to just let it kind of melt on its own. Not melt, but soften on its own. So one tip is you take like a glass of water and put it in the microwave till it's hot. You can still see it steaming. This one may have gotten a little hot, and I may have almost like burned my face because it was boiling when I pulled it out. So that's a little hot. I don't know that it needs to be that hot, but so we're gonna dump the water out. And now the glass is hot, and we're gonna take our butter, and we're just gonna put it on a plate with the hot glass over it and let it melt that way. So that's one way we can do it. Another way, this recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of butter, which is a stick and a half. So there's our stick. And another way you can do it is to grate your butter. So you can grate it, like, see, it's already kind of melty here. But anyway, when it's right out of the fridge, this has been sitting in my kitchen, but you can grate it and it's gonna melt that butter really fast. So that's one of your options. You can also, okay, butter. Anyway, look at that. Whoa, it almost looks like cheese, but it's totally gonna melt, like it's already melting. Okay, so if you want really fast room temperature butter, there you go. And another option, so we're gonna use the rest of this butter for the icing. And nobody needs to see butter hands. It's not the most attractive thing. Anyway, all right, we're gonna take the butter and just break it off into little cubes, and that will also help it soften easier. So you just kind of break it up and let it sit. Now, like I say, I don't need this one right this second because I need it for the icing. So we're just gonna put that aside, but that's another one. So you just break up your butter into little tiny pieces. It's going to melt faster. Now, room temperature butter is probably harder and cooler than you think it is. you don't want to totally mush it. You just want your finger to barely go in. So that's about it. Like, there we are. And you really don't want it melty all over. So anyway, I think we're about there. And then we've got this butter that's nice and shredded and already melting. Such a quick way to get that room temperature butter without ruining the texture in the microwave. So we're gonna put our butter in and start our butter-rich cookie recipe. I'm gonna start with 3/4 cup. And we're going to just mix that up. Maybe, if it's plugged in. We're gonna mix it up. For a minute there, I was panicking that my outlets weren't working in my island. So, they are, they're good. All right, so we're gonna mix this butter. And to this, we're going to add now, see, I'm gonna say, if I have to do this again, I'm gonna grate my butter because that was beautiful. The one I put in the cup was fine, but the one that I grated, man, that was a perfect texture. That's what you want when you're baking. So when you have butter that's melted or it's like, yeah, starting to melt, then it can make your cookies flat. It can just mess. Baking is kind of a science and it can mess with the textures. So you just want to make sure that your textures are right on. Follow the recipes of what they say because it will change the outcome of the recipe if you don't follow it. So anyway, here we have our 3/4 cup butter, a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. We're going to add to it a tablespoon of white sugar. And we're gonna mix our butters and sugar. That's kind of a basic that you do with most cookie recipes. You wanna mix your butters, your fats, and your sugars together. So we're gonna do that. And I'm gonna make sure that our edges, I need to get those cool beaters. The Cake by Courtney was sharing about that'll get the edges for you. So I need to invest in one of those. We're just gonna mix that and then we're gonna throw in, it's just 1 egg yolk. So it's not even the whole egg, it's just the yolk. I will usually use the shells of the egg to cut the whites off and then just keep the yolk. And the shells do a really great job at kind of cutting that white. So we're gonna put that in here. And then we have our vanilla, which is a teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, now here comes the fun part. We're gonna put the flour in. And I want you to see the texture of this cookie dough because you're gonna start mixing it and it's going to look all clumpy. And you're gonna think, wait, I have clumpy butter or clumpy cookie dough. You're gonna have clumpy something. Anyway, you're gonna have clumpy cookie dough. But it will all incorporate and come together. So we're gonna put in the flour. Little by little. The flour is 1 3/4 cup of flour. So now you can see how it's kind of starting to get like it's not incorporating. You're like, uh-oh. We're right. We need our dough to incorporate. Okay, but as we mix it, okay, and it smells so good. I'm not gonna lie. The smell of this cookie dough is delicious. It really has a rich, yummy smell, and it takes me back to my childhood because I remember making these as a young girl and watching my mom making them and helping her at Christmas time. Okay, so now our dough has come together. That's what you want it to look like. My family has a recipe, something that they use during the holidays, something that invokes memories and traditions. And so for my family, this is one of many, but it just brings back a lot of great memories for me. we start by rolling out the cookie dough. Now the size of these are small. And when they flatten out, they're the size of like a 50-cent piece. I know, because we have so many 50-cent pieces circulating around right now, but it's bigger than a quarter, so like a 50-cent piece. And they're not huge. At one point I tried to make them huge because I thought they're such a good cookie. They would be fun to sell, like at farmers markets or fairs or things like that, but they just didn't turn out as well. And maybe with a little bit more trial and error I could do it, but they really are the perfect. They are so rich too that just the little bite is perfect. So we're gonna roll these out and then I will show you how to push them down. Okay. All right, now that the cookies are all rolled out, you want to take a flat cup. You want something that doesn't have like an indentation or anything. You don't want patterns. I mean, I guess you could have patterns, but you want flat because you're gonna use it to press down on your cookies. And then this is just a little bowl of sugar, and you want to press down and see it's not thin and it's not huge. It's just, that's about the shape you want. Although I'm not gonna lie, that's more of a quarter shape. But we're going to press down. So you just go back into the sugar all the time, because if you don't, then it's going to get sticky and stick to your glass, and we don't want the cookies sticking to the glass. All right, see, and this is kind of fun. And honestly, if you have some aggression to get out, you just like, just don't do too much because you'll get them flat. So you can have some aggression in pushing these down, just don't have too much. All right, and then we are gonna bake these for 7 minutes. You do not overbake these. 7 minutes at 350. You can't overbake them because then they get crispy, and we're not going for a crispy cookie, we're going for a soft, beautiful cookie. So we just put them in the oven for 7 minutes. And then when they come out, I'm gonna show you how to frost them. The frosting is a delicious cooked frosting. You cook the butter and you brown the butter, which I know is kind of a trendy term. It seems like browning butter, but it really is so good in all of your dishes. For savory, for sweet, that brown butter just gives a nutty flavor. That's what I'm gonna be showing you how to do next. Okay, so now our cookies are done. The 7 minutes, they're perfect. Look at that. See, there's no brown on the bottom. They're soft, absolutely delicious. They're perfect. So now you can put them on your cooling rack. And then I'm gonna show you how to make the frosting, the brown buttered frosting. Okay, so now we're gonna brown the butter. This is my 1/4 cup of butter, which is a half a stick. We're gonna throw that in, and you just start to let it melt down. So you're gonna melt this down. And then we're gonna go much further than just melting. So brown butter it separates some of the milk fat. It just brings out the nuttiness of the butter. It just makes it so rich. And that's what we're going for. Our butter rich cookies. So watch, we've been on a medium to medium high heat. See how it's foaming? The top is foaming, but look how brown that butter is underneath. This is also gonna give you those lovely flecks. It's gonna make your frosting color a nice cream color and give you lots of pretty flecks in your icing. So there's that. So we've got our browned butter. And to the brown butter, we're gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla, which was really hot brown butter. Apparently, I don't know if it's ever done that in all my years of making these cookies. And did you know that a cap of your vanilla is a teaspoon? So if you just need, for most basic vanillas, if you just need a teaspoon, just fill it in your cap. I have some milk and my powdered sugar. So I'm gonna start to add my powdered sugar. And we're gonna start mixing. I'm gonna add a little bit of milk as we go. This is really warm, and we're going to want this to cool down a little bit before we try to ice them. I used to ice them with a knife, and then I found that a piping bag and a tip makes them prettier, they're easier. So we are going to let this cool a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit more powdered sugar. But look at that color. I mean, that is just your butter. Okay, that's a really great texture. That's what we're going for. Okay, so now our icing is done. We've let it cool a little bit. We're going to put it in a piping bag. So this is the easiest way to get your icing into your bag, is to just fold it over a cup, like a glass, and you only want to fill it like 3 or 2/3 of the way full, because you don't want it too full and coming out the ends. So when we used to do sugar cookie days with my kids, like at Christmas, it was always like coming out the top, but you want to twist your bag and then just put a little bit of pressure. And look at this ginormous tip. It is huge, and we got it when COVID first started, and my daughter wanted to learn to make cakes while we were all stuck inside. And so we ordered this huge cake decorating kit from Amazon, and these were some of the tips, and I just laughed. I'm like, that is a ginormous tip. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. But we actually have used it, and it's a great tip. So anyway, going to ice our cookies, and you can add nuts to the tops of them. You can add sprinkles. See, I let that sit too long. When you do your sprinkles, you got to get it right on while it's still, there we go. Should have had a tray under it, because now I'm gonna have sprinkles everywhere. So you can leave them plain, or like I say, you can use food coloring and change the colors to go with the theme of a shower or whatever you want. And if you really want a white icing, you can use a white food coloring, and that'll take down some of that brown. And there you go. There are your butter-rich cookies. They are fabulous, something that you're gonna wanna make, and make it one of your new family traditions. So, or share it with a friend, give them away at the holidays. Anyway, it's a great cookie, and I hope you try it.